and welcome to the Aisha Mohammed podcast. Thank you for joining us. This is the series called COVID Conquerors, and this is episode 2. Well, what is COVID Conquerors all about? Well, as we're all aware, we are undergoing a global pandemic, and this has got a lot of people in a lot of trials, let's say, whereby some are losing their jobs. Some are desperately trying to get pennies together just to know how they're going to be able to buy food to eat. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of strain. Suicide rates gone up. Domestic violence rates have gone up. Some people are, in fact, living a nightmare. Others are, however, finding the ability to be able to, despite strife, despite the hardships, despite the uncertainty, thrive during this time. Now, COVID Conquerors aims to be a podcast that is uplifting and inspiring for persons like I just described. It is to help us to dig deep, to be able to unleash that power within, for us to be able to overcome our difficulties, our obstacles that we face in this life, and especially during this time. So please share this broadcast. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, if it's your first time seeing me on Elevation Time, I'd just like to welcome you. Please subscribe to the channel. Those of you on Facebook, if you could please have a watch party. Why not? Have a watch party and invite your friends, or you can just share the love. And to the replay viewer, I haven't forgotten you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Now, I'm going to introduce a very special guest on my show tonight. He's a brother who, when I spoke to him, was so full of life, is so full of life, so full of experience. You know, some people in life, they just seem like they've lived 2 or 3 lives in one. And this brother is such like this. He's got a breadth of experience in different areas. Well, who is this special guest of mine? His name is Coline Rankine, and he is a community activist who is working with homeless people on the streets of Birmingham, United Kingdom. Now, let me just tell you something. When I first moved to Birmingham, I was quite overwhelmed by the high numbers of homeless people that I came across on the street, whether I was going shopping, whether I was just going for a walk, dropping the children to school. I came across homeless people. And the heart of this brother, Colin, is so very special in how he views things and goes about his work. So I am very honoured to introduce to you tonight special guest, brother Colin Rankine. How are you?
Hello, what an introduction, and hello to all viewers. It is an honour and a pleasure to be on this station. And what I like about what you're actually doing is that you're highlighting what a lot of people are thinking. How can we be more effective during this crisis? People who know me know I'm very biblical based. To me, these are fantastic times to be living in. When you look at David and Goliath, and you look at Daniel in the lion's cage, you know, all these things where we can really shine. And I really did grasp the metal in grasping the word of God and going out there and doing what I can. And by God's grace, it's been extremely successful.
Excellent, excellent. Well, tell us a little bit more about what you do and what inspired you to work with the homeless members of the Birmingham community.
Well, I'm Jamaican descent, born in the UK. So I've got the plethora of experiences of inequalities and the plethora of experience of choices. And then coming to the Lord, I could see that really nothing was new. Once you really start reading the Bible, you realize that persecution and corruption is something that's an old age thing. And I could see that if you really want your light to shine biblically, serve the poor. deal with those people that nobody wants to deal with. As you know, I opened a school, and a plethora of different things to help all people who were downtrodden. At the time, I could see, with my research, I could see after the Second World War, or during the Second War, how Hitler was able to alienate the Jews. And I could see that in England, we had exactly the same thing, where people of colour were deliberately being excluded out of schools and demonized. We know within the system that we have people of colour who, if you have a white person and someone of colour doing the same crime, the person of colour will go down for a longer time. Now, people just think, oh, well, it's bad luck. No, it's called corruption. The Bible speaks about this injustice. And I could see that a lot of people really didn't have the backbone to stand up. When you look at Moses, and you look at Jesus and the way he used to deal with that kind of inequality, I knew that I had to sort of stand in the gap. And I could see that when you read the newspapers, every 19 hours, someone died on the streets of the UK. This wasn't because of a pandemic. This wasn't because they got shot. This was because they were left out on the streets. And I really wanted to investigate why this was happening. I went and sat in the courts. I could see people who were incarcerated, people who couldn't pay debts, and I could see a whole plethora of different people, ex-army guys on the streets, and I could see how the judicial system was really alienating people who were poor. And reading through the scriptures, I could see that Jesus left us one commandment: remember the poor, look after the poor. So when I went out on the streets, and going on the streets, it's like going through your neighbour's bin, and you could see everything that was wrong. I could see that there's lots of funds going for the homeless, but the local councils are keeping the money, or really not being as diligent as they should. How they were actually earmarking that money to the homeless. And I could see that the homeless didn't have a voice. So it was very easy for them to siphon off money and have schemes that basically didn't work. And I just decided to just do something small. So I went out with a flask and jam sandwiches. And all the British people like jam sandwiches, which is bread, butter, and jam marmalade, as it were, and with hot chocolate with a flask. And I just started walking the streets. And I started doing that. I was newly married back then in the early days, and me and my wife used to walk the streets serving the poor, and it just escalated from that. Now we're clearing just over 11 tons per day in our food bank, and we're serving many thousands of people. What we're doing.
11 tons.
11 tons of food per day. So we go as far as Sheffield, and all over the place now. We've set up several food banks, especially within this pandemic. We've been able to really grab the scriptures and run with it and say, look, we know that the people are being sanctioned by the benefit. We know that even though the government says that the people are being cannot be evicted, we know that people are being evicted. We know that people are getting kicked out of their accommodation. So we know that we've got to clothe them. We have to feed them. And then most of all, we have to pray for them and give them hope. And during this pandemic, I knew within Psalms 91, within the Bible, it says that no pestilence will come near you. And really, you had to then walk by faith. And that faith was believing in the Bible and actually doing what it says, because it can be very painful. So being out there in the cold and being out there while everybody else was shut away. And then I could see that a lot of the homeless guys says, well, even if we had money, we couldn't go into the shops because the shops were shut in town, so they couldn't actually buy food. So they're really grateful that I was out there on the street feeding them. And then we had people who were shut in the houses but had no food. So they had no money to buy food, but they had accommodation. So they'd walk into town knowing that they knew they could find me and I could provide them with the food. So, it was one of those things where I could really shine through this adversity.
Wow, that's just amazing. Because when it comes to homelessness, there's different types. You have people who are street homeless, and then you have people who are just like sofa surfing and such like, or in hostels and things like that. So do you also do work in hostels? I know you're actually out working now, aren't you?
I am, yes. I've just got two police officers here. They're helping out.
Mhm.
I don't know if I can show you viewers, but we've got two wonderful police officers, as you can just see them there, who stopped with the
Yeah.
volunteer helping. So God bless
Oh,
them. You know, and I must admit, and I
you
have to
must bring out the best in people.
I'll tell you something, the police, and I'm going to have to say it, the police have been fantastic in town.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't know about the rest of the place, but the
Yeah.
police, I mean, to begin with, it was a little bit sketchy because they didn't know why this black guy was walking the streets of Birmingham. But after that, they've been fantastic. Once they know what you're about and everything else. So the reason being, I've had people who've collapsed and they've rang the ambulance. We've gone, we prayed for them, and the people have jumped up, you know. Yeah, they're just yeah. So the community police officers are just walking off there, so you can just see them there.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's fantastic. What the police have been doing, they really did get on board once. Who you are, officers? Apologies, I'm just doing an interview at the moment. That's who we are. Yeah. God bless you and thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. God bless you, brother. Yeah, I just yeah, so they know that the Bible's quite clear. You have to do things legally. So we've got a registered charity and all the correct insurances and everything else. Obviously, that's something that Jesus didn't have to do back in the day. But the Bible's quite clear: follow the law of the land. And where that law's corrupt, you have to speak out of it. So within that, always
Yeah.
find that like any organization, you have to be very careful how you label. So I could see that the hierarchy. So you know that I was able to highlight some homeless people who passed away. So I had to highlight that because I film on the street. People can log on to my Active Christian website and a plethora of the websites. Just Google my name, Colin Rankine, and you'll see lots of things that we're doing. I could see a lot of Christian organisations and a lot of outreach teams, some of different faiths, could see the corruption, but they wasn't saying anything. So more people were dying. So I had to highlight that, and that came to a crescendo with Kane Walker, who was a young man who died on the streets, and he didn't need to die. And over 4 years feeding him on the street, I could see him slowly deteriorating, knowing that the services that were supposed to be available just wasn't there. So within that, there's good and bad. So the hierarchy of the police might not like me, but the Bobby's on the ground. I've never had any, you know, all the years, and I've been doing it a few years now. I've never had any issues with any of the bobbies, the guys on the grounds, and the hierarchy maybe, but because obviously some of your listeners may know I'm running for crime commissioner. I do also other things. I run a political party as well, and I do it through the love, and I'm doing it biblically as well because I
Yeah.
believe that that's what Jesus would have done. It's not about running for office. We're here to serve. So I believe that as servants to the British people, be it black, white, Asian, we have to sort of, within the ministry and everything that I do, step out in faith. So do things that other people ain't doing. So yeah, so that's how everything transpired and how I've sort of been catapulted to the forefront of what we would know as how to deal with the homeless and those people who are on low incomes as well. And what I found with the British people, they are very proud people. So they don't go to a food bank willy-nilly. You know, they won't, you know, they're very reserved. So sometimes I've had to deliver because I know that person is starving in his house, but he won't come out to a food bank. So it's understanding that, and then it's a spiritual journey. It's praying for people and knowing them. So the minute I see someone, I'll, you know, spiritually, I know that through prayer, that person's genuine. And then I can see another person, I'll think, oh, well, he's blagging it, you know. But I still give because the Bible's quite clear. Freely giving, freely give it out with a prayer. The Holy Spirit does the rest. Sorry, I'll let you ask me the next question.
Wow, wow, wow. Wow, you kind of said how COVID-19 has affected the homeless population. What three realizations have you had during this pandemic in helping people? And also, do you have any success stories about those who are living homeless that you work with?
Yes, I mean every day, really. I mean, last night, if those who want to log on, Google my live feed from last night, I had a guy who's obviously he's got health issues, let's call it. He's
Mhm.
due to have his leg amputated. He had both his hands broken through a monetary dispute, let's call it. You're dealing with the bottom end, he's sleeping rough and sofa
Mhm.
surfing at the same time. Now,
Mhm.
he said if I didn't come out and feed them, then he would have died on the streets. So that's how real it is. So, as a success story, he knows, he says, because over the years I've been serving him, he says, I know that I can come here and I know that you're going to be there, Colin. Cold, wind, snow, whatever. You're very consistent in what you do. And I know that obviously these guys are crying my shoulder and everything else. They know that they can get bandages, they can get clothing, they can come and ask me for things. And what I find is sometimes people will do something good for the homeless at Christmas, but I found that people eat every day. I find that
Right.
people help not just at Christmas, and
Mhm.
whole point where I've had to follow that biblical text to say, look, how would I like to be treated if I was on the street? Would I like someone to say, oh, well, you know what, I've got 5 minutes and I'm just on the way to an appointment. Let me just go and see, if there's someone on the street. No, that's the wrong attitude. I will say today, how many people can I go and serve on the street? How many people can I go out there, out my way and say, oh, I can see he's having difficulty at the till. Let me go and have a word. Let me see how I can help him. And sort of going along that biblical text of, look, going out there and helping people. And I always say to people, Jesus never handed out money. So the success story is knowing that I had queues up my street. I live in a normal street with a normal house. And when you have people in cars, people who are living in the cars, queuing up to have to come to the food bank, that blows your socks off. When people who have been living in, it's hard because I'm trying not to give too much information away. I had some people who I collect from several supermarkets who had lost a job. So I had one who was a partner who had a pub. It was a manager of a pub. That pub closed down. As you know, a lot of COVID-19, a lot of pubs have closed down. That was accommodation. She lost her accommodation. They're both sleeping in the car. Because I hand out my little business cards, she says, I never thought I'd be in this situation. Her family wouldn't help them. And they managed to find the way to my doorstep. I was able to give them a food parcel. I mean, they were, they're crying. I had to fight back tears because overnight people found themselves on the street, and they found themselves sleeping in a car, not being able to wash, all these type of things. Because ordinarily I'd say, well, you can go to that place and you go, everywhere was shut, so the library, going into certain restaurants, McDonald's or whatever, to have a quick wash and to wash your face and brush your teeth. They can't do that. These places were shut. So I was able to sort of steer them to places where they could help themselves, and sort of try and go into work, in the supermarket, and everyone else not knowing that they were sleeping in the car. So people coming to my house for water, and I had to give out lots of flasks. I have still flasks that I hand out. I fill them up with water. So I have people who come to my house in the morning. I boil the kettle, give them a flask so they can have tea through the day. And, all that type of stuff I've had to do, which through the pandemic, biblically, those people who know, to give someone water is quite a precious thing. It's a blessing from the Lord in itself. So yeah, all those things. So that's success stories. I must have set up at least 15 plus food banks. So other ministries who never had a food bank have been able to say, oh, Colin, we don't have a registered charity. Can you help us? We need this donation. We need that donation. So I've been able to supply them with food. I've been able to help them. I've been helping them to register. Some of them, it can take up to 2 years to register a charity, and the pandemic's now. So I was able to give freely to help other ministries. Started food banks in Sheffield, Dudley, all over Birmingham. And then individual people coming to me saying, look, Colin, I want to do something. So loading up the cars in the morning, and they go out on the streets into the surrounding areas, Walsall, Dudley, Handsworth, Birmingham, different parts, Erdington, out to the back of the car, and seeking out the lost, seeking out those people who need provision, and handing out that food. And then obviously they within themselves of having to see how painful it is for the British population. They are in advert poverty, and it doesn't seem like the authorities care. We saw within the hierarchy and the structures of politicians gave themselves £10,000 extra for being at home, and a pay rise as well. And that really does isolate them from the general public. So I was able to circumnavigate and help these people through a very difficult time where it seemed like nobody cared.
Amazing work that you're doing. Absolutely amazing. And when you're explaining things, it's just so graphic, and it's so easy how one can fall from a so-called place of security just into poverty, sleeping in your car, not knowing what's going to happen to them. And it's just it's a blessing that you're there and that you're doing that hands-on frontline work that is really needed in this time. And it appears to me that it is your faith, because you're actually a pastor, aren't you, among many other things.
I set up my own ministry. The institution I was in at the time wasn't too enamored with me walking the streets, helping the poor. And it went to committee, and it was something that they frowned upon. So I had to set up my own ministry. Running a school, I could see that the children being out of school and all those plethora of things, I could see that the children needed prayer. I couldn't get any of the other ministries to come and pray with the children. So I had to go down that walk of asking the Lord and saying, look, what would you have me do? I took the Nazarite vow, hence my hair, which means I have to grow what we'll call dreadlocks. It's in the Bible. And I was shocked. Within number 6 in the Bible, it says, if you want to be a high priest, you want to serve the Lord in a very special way, to take the Nazarite vow. And that's what I did. I was able to set up a ministry through that and really serve the population, have a close relationship with God, to say, look, what would you have me do? And obviously now with this lockdown, people have been able to really connect with who are they spiritually, who is their creator, who is the one who really emboldens them. And obviously I was already on that journey, so I was able to plug several gaps at the time. So while I was been doing the coronavirus, running the school, I still been inspected. And I'm the only, as far as I know, the only one who continued to be inspected. So even though I was helping the people on the streets, I also had to deal with the authorities that were also trying to shut me down at the same time, which is horrendous. So just to let all your viewers know, I've never been running a charity for over 10 years, running a school for many years, never received any funds. So children who have been placed with me, I'm entitled to that funds because I'm black. They do not fund me in any capacity. So within that, I had to walk close with the Lord to understand, look, this is what they did to Jesus. This type of corruption and demonizing children, going into gangs, carrying knives. This wasn't something that children naturally do. This is something that's been forced upon them. You've been kicked out of school, you have no prospects. You can only turn to crime. You can't read and write your name properly. And I could see that what's the similarities between what happened in the Holocaust with Hitler alienating the Jews was exactly the same thing that was happening with people of colour within the UK and the UK white poor people. I could see that. And I could see when I researched what Hitler did, I could see that this is exactly what the Hitler did to the indigenous black population that was there in Germany at the time, which you don't hear a lot about. So I could see that same thing, especially within Ostend and all this. I could see that there was definitely a Hitler type Gestapo element. We know that black people of color within education will leave the profession. We know that we're underrepresented, and I had to look at why that was. And I could see this Gestapo within Ofsted, they would lie, cheat, steal to get people of colour out of the educational system, therefore enabling them to abuse the children of colour. You get a 6 or 7 year old where they're labelling them as abusive or with some kind of learning difficulty, even though they don't have it. They can't articulate that to the parents when they get home. It only like teachers like myself who are able to fall on the sword or be crucified, who can actually say that no, I have to walk in my righteousness. What you're doing is telling lies on children who cannot defend themselves. I've had children who have been locked in cupboards. I've had children within this system who have come to the school who their parents might have had a brush with social services. So social services have rang them up and say, you have to take the child out of the school and home educate the child. And all that sort of thing never comes to the public light. So I was able to highlight that. And what I like about what's happening with the COVID-19 is before this, because my school is homeschool social enterprise, no one really had the experience of homeschooling. Now the whole nation, through God's grace and mercy, understands homeschooling. One, how hard it is, how much the children don't know, and how much living in a particular area. So when I first started my school, I was approached by certain educational consultants, and if I paid a particular fee, I could get a particular grading. As a Christian, I couldn't do that. I knew it was one, it was fraud, it was corruption, and I refused to get involved in it. You go through the usual procedures, report it, nothing happens, and this is what people need to understand. And I had to expose that as I could see the criminality on the street that was downtrodden the people, the same with the educational system. And this is why it led me into politics and sort of emboldened me to say, look, I have to be the backbone of the UK. I have to say, look, it's not a black thing. Yes, Satan's using our colour. I've seen it happen to poor white people, and this is why I had to highlight it. I've seen it happen to Asian people as well. I could say people of colour, maybe not colour, people like myself, may be a bit vocal. I call it the Jamaican syndrome. If you had back in the day, you have a football match, there's always going to be one person like myself who be stood maybe in the wrong stand holding their own, and that's exactly what that I'm doing. I call it that Jamaican sound. I'm British born, Jamaican parents, but not on my watch. Them things now go on, not with me. So I'm not a Rastafarian. I'm dreadlocks. Some of the guys are just teaming up. So I'm just gonna let them just say a quick hi. Say a quick hi. I'm on. Just say hi, everyone.
Hello,
okay.
everybody.
So
Hi.
I'm gonna be finished in. I'm finished in an hour. Okay. So be patient. Have a cup of tea and wait for me. Okay. Yeah. So apologies. So yeah. Well, I'll talk to you in a bit. Okay. Yeah. So sorry about that. I had to say hi to the crew because they're at my window like orphan children. Bless them. So yeah. So during the coronavirus, I've been able to embolden people, and people have got to then realize that their own position is quite tenuous. And I've had a lot more Christians come off the fence, a lot more Christians being vocal, and that is great. And as you know, I work with Muslims, Sikhs, Buddhists, tree huggers, and of late I've been working with Vikings. Would you believe it? Those people who believe in Thor, and those people who watch my videos. And I include no one. Jesus walked with everyone. We've seen that with the Good Samaritan. So that's how I've been able to really excel, help other people, and really show love. Because what I found is people look at me like, "Why are you helping me?" And I say, "Because if you don't, you'll die, mate." And they get it. You'd be surprised how many people at first don't get it. When I was walking the streets as a person of color, whatever word you want to use for someone like myself, at first people wouldn't take a drink off me. They just looked at me weird. This is before I had my, the way I look now. But to see the transition now that people, oh no, that's Colin. I'll take a hot drink off him. Oh, I know his food is okay. And it's funny how the people who are on the street know and then love you, and you have to build that trust. So a lot of people used to come to me, I mean, I say through God's grace and mercy broke the mold. I used to get a lot of attacks from other people who serve the poor, let's call it. Oh, you shouldn't film
Okay.
them. And I used to say to them, this is my brother. He's going to die next week because it's going to frost.
Mm,
And I know that you guys are going to stay inside because it's raining or it's cold. But I'm going to be out here. And I used to say, do you mind me
mm,
filming? And the homeless used to say, no, Colin, do what you want, mate, because we know
mm,
you. So when they know you and you have a relationship, I can film anywhere. So, I got, several TV companies that would come and film me on the street. And they say, well, when we go out with other things, we get attacked, and a lot of people don't like it. And I said, well, they don't build a relationship. I don't see these people as homeless. I see them as my brothers, my sister, my uncle. I took them home. They've slept in my home, where I've been able to help them. That's how, the Bible says you should do that, and that's a big step. I'm not advocating everyone to do that, but I love God
mm,
so much. And I believe in showing love and kindness. And
mm,
I had to do the history of the UK. And, when I say the word pagan and heathens and what they like and everything else, you get to understand that they find it very difficult to show love. And that's what was so unique about what Jesus did, is going out there and bridging gaps. And that's what I tried to do. Sorry, your
mm.
next question. I could really go on forever. So I know that, to try and let you put me back on track.
No, I just appreciate just your candidness in sharing what it is that you do, and what you're doing is God's work, hands on, hands down. I'm very inspired, and I hope that those who are watching and those that will, watch on the replay and listen, that they're feeling it too, because this is God's work, hands on, hands on. Wow. Okay, so
Can I just,
what other projects
yeah.
or
Oh,
things do
project.
you have
Oh,
in the pipeline?
projects. I mean, I've got several. Obviously, I want to fight to extend the schools. Also, as I'm a registered childminder, um, trying to fight the racism within that.
Mhm,
I live in Sandwell as an area, so I know that they have sort of unwritten policy where black people or people of color cannot hold particular positions. I say that
mhm,
with fact.
mhm,
Because I was raised in Sandwell, I went to school with a lot of those people who may or might not like people like myself, and they'll tell me, and this is why when I was speaking about the police and stuff like that, just because they have a policy that's unwritten that they exclude people of color from childminding, especially black males, from teaching
mhm,
black males, and several other professions, it doesn't mean that those people who may not have the backbone to say something actually agree with it. Same with the police officers. I found that that the hierarchy might not like people of color, or people who are black, but the ordinary Bobby, he might be okay, So within Sandwell, they have a written policy or unwritten policy that they will not have any black mayors, not Asian, black mayors, and a
mhm,
black male mayor, So where you and that's why I was running for the West Midlands mayor, the crime commissioner, because these are positions where they either have someone who they can control as a black person in there, and I refused to join the other parties at the time. They did approach me, and I said, because I didn't want to lessen the voice, and I wanted people to say that I was honest, that serving, don't choose me because I'm black, choose me because I'm going to look after the population, and this is how I wanted to walk. And they had to see me, politicians will have a photo up, look, I'm at the food bank lifting a box, no, 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 no. When I am dealing with the homeless, food bank, schools, because I'm doing the job, because I love the people. And within everything I've gone into, the hierarchy can call me what they like, but I found the people on the ground love me. The students who bring the children to me, the homeless people. So where the hierarchy might say, no, you have to look, you're on our turf now, Mr. Rankine. You're going to have to join one of the two main parties, or we're going to have to crush you. I'm sorry, I'm washed in the blood of Jesus. I refuse to be afraid of you. You can kill me, you can stab me, you can find me floating in a river. But by Jesus' name and in his name, I'm going to walk in his light. And if I die doing that, then all the glory to the Lord. But I refuse to water it down in any capacity. So, and when people see that you're genuine, I know that through the Holy Spirit, that it'll touch them in a special way, black, white, Asian, and they'll see that you need a leader who cares for the population. The Bible's quite clear. Treat people from different countries fairly. And unfortunately, this country hasn't treated people who have been enslaved, people from the Windrush generation. The list goes on. The Irish, fairly. They haven't treated them fairly. And we're not here to put out vengeance. It's about saying, look, change your ways. You know, you might have been like that or your forefathers like that, but the Bible's quite clear. Vengeance is his and he will visit it. And a lot of them believe that, you know, God doesn't exist, and they don't believe that that judgment is coming, even though through COVID-19, you know, the Bible's quite clear in Revelations, there'll be two in the field, one will be taken, one will be left. That's called, you need to learn a lesson, change your ways, repent, UK, repent. That's black, white, Asian, you know, put down the money, pick up our humanity. I'll get off my soapbox now. But yeah, I do want to do a shout out to the Nation of Islam and
Yes.
to the Sikh faith and all the other faiths who have come with me, who walked the streets with me, and the different churches as well that have come and walked with me on the streets. And I just want to let people know it's not just me. There must be 30, 40 other volunteers who regularly do their food banks and everything else through this ministry. And I wanted to give a special shout out to a little lady who contacted me last week. She said, I watched you on ITV News, and a big shout out to ITV Central, who have been very good. The BBC refused to put my name on the videos to begin with. They refused to spell correctly on the first videos. They just kept saying charity worker. ITV were the first people who were honest, who gave me the respect, really, to say, look, this is what this young man's doing. And it's to be, you know, it's for everyone to do. And they treated me fairly, basically. So ITV, Central News, fantastic. All the reporters, the candidness. We're still vying for a building in the city centre. So that's what we're trying to do in the future. So within the city centre, I've had children on the street, children running away from home. So Central News have highlighted that, and the deficiencies within the child protection arena, within adult protection, also obviously because there's homeless people, so it's non-existent really, because they're dying on the streets, one a week in the West Midlands. So, you know, I ask people to donate through that so we can purchase a building, and then we can wipe homelessness in the West Midlands off. We had people from Gateshead on the streets, you know, people who've committed crimes. They've given them a train ticket from North Shields up that way, Gateshead way, and then sent them here, and they've ended up on the streets. You know, so without me serving them on the streets, they would have perished. So,
Now, one thing just kind of in line with that, Colin. Whenever I'm out and about, and when I talk about the homeless situation, like literally just a few yards from my front door, I will find homeless people on the street. And when I go into the city centre, it's the same thing. But what I see, and I was really wondering about, is a lot of the homeless tend to be white males.
yes.
I'll see few women, but white males high in number. Can you explain why that is the case?
Yes. Basically, what you're finding is we've had, and this is why I went into the politics side of things, because I could see that we're redrawing boundaries. I could see what is Satan up to, what is the devil trying to do. If you don't have a home, you can't vote. Now, within the population like myself, within the churches, they're told not to vote, so they don't have to worry too much about the black population too much. the Asian population, and I'm going to segregate it the way it is, they can have the block votes through their religious organizations. So they're catered for. What I found with the poor white people, they're on the street because they would vote a particular way. And now we have the blue government in, and you got the red government. So it was very easy that most people know that people vote who are affluent, who have a bit of money, will vote blue. People who are poor normally, as a rule, will vote red. So how do you stop the red ones from voting? Firstly, you start by not housing them. Firstly, you start by if you put them into hostels, and so you raise the price of HMO, so people in multiple occupancy. So within that, you move them around, especially if you sanction them from the benefits. That means that 1 minute they're getting benefit, the next minute they're not. They have to move accommodation. The last thing they're going to do when they move to a hostel in a one-bedroom hostel where you have a shared bathroom and a shared kitchen is register to vote. So those people are looking for the next meal or how to stay away from someone who's next door who's got a mental illness or drug dealers or anything else. They're going to have a plethora of problems. One of them isn't registering to vote. So you have a whole underclass of people who are white who don't have a voice. So this is why you get so many people who are white on the street, people who are disenfranchised with the system, people from the military who don't have a voice on the streets. And I was shocked to see how many guys who served in Afghanistan, in Iraq, who are on the streets, who are not eligible to claim any benefits, many without shoes. And the British public used to say, oh, well, the drug addicts. No, they're not. I've yet to see one person. In the signal there.
It's just gone out. Hopefully you'll come back in. Yeah, we lost you for a second.
Yeah, so I could see people in the military on the streets. I could see that they wasn't eligible for a lot of the services. And I could see those people who were served in Iraq, Afghanistan on the streets. And I knew that people calling them drug addicts or alcoholics, and they're not. I've yet to find someone who's hit the streets who's a drug addict. The drug addiction comes after they hit the streets, because trust me, when it's -7 and you're having to sleep out without a sleeping bag, you need to take something to get through, be that alcohol, drugs, whatever. Now, alcohol, you have to pay for it. Unfortunately, the supermarkets don't give it out free. But on the street, the drug dealers give the drugs out free. So, to get you hooked. So the first couple of days, it numbs the pain, and then obviously, but you're hooked on something that is going to destroy your life. So yeah, so that is what I would want to see in the future. So the children who hit the street, if I can get them into accommodation early. So I've complained many times that all the homeless shelters are open, call it between 10 and 3 o'clock. Okay. And I've always said no one is homeless in the day. In the day you can go to a coffee shop, you can go to the library. There's several places. You're not homeless in the day. Yeah. At night, you're homeless. So all the night shelters should be open at night. All the centers should be open at night. So we want to open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. But a big start would be if all the homeless shelters open from, say, 9 p.m. till 7 p.m., 7 a.m. in the morning. That will clear a lot of people off the street. That means if you don't know where you're sleeping tonight, you can come to this place. We will accommodate you. Okay. Now, then within the city centre, there's some centres you really don't want to go to. That's where the male men are getting raped, where the drugs are given out freely. That's within. This is not on the streets. This is in some of the council run services where I see the guys, so I'm going to give them a voice. They'll go in there. If they're not on drugs, they're forced to take drugs, and then they're raped. So a lot of them will sleep on the street. So when you see a lot of the guys on the streets, the word on the street is certain hostels don't go to. you know, and they're not the private ones. These are the council run ones, are the worst ones. So this is where all that kind of iniquity happens. I know it happened to a certain person I mentioned who passed away. That's what leads to the mental illness, and then, you know, you spiral then into depression and all the rest of it because of, you know, what happens to you on the street. So in the future, to be the prime minister as a political party, to have a centre as part of the ministry, to have a centre in the centre of Birmingham where we can deal with the homeless, deal with those children who are getting kicked out of school, those children who don't have a voice, and especially through the Ofsted system, children of colour have no say, especially within the council services within the West Midlands. Children of colour, especially, and poor white children, do not have a say, because the social services are more of a political arm where they will use those services to try and pull down the people who they don't like, rather than people who are in danger. So the whole system within the UK has become very corrupt and very murky. And the only way we can really do that is people to vote for the Yeshua party and to stand, if they feel grounded in the Bible, they want to see the UK prosper, then they need to accept Jesus as the Lord and Saviour, accept the Bible, and want someone who's going to show love and caring, where the Bible talks about being respectful to other religions, respectful to other people. And you should have the light so bright in you that people will want to come over, not because you browbeated them or anything else like that. You know, so all these sort of issues are something that I would advocate in the future. If we have more pandemics, if the people don't come to the Lord, we are going to get more problems. We've got Brexit around the corner. There are going to be food shortages. And this is where it's quite important for us at this time to make sure we, you know, as believers, come together to help all kinds of people, so that people don't die on the street. Because now we're going to start seeing families on the street. We're talking lockdown till December, or the end of, or even the beginning of January, and they're looking to extend it till March. I mean, suicide rates are going up. You know, I've seen a lot of violence within the hostels going up. So yeah, we need to pull together, and we need to have a friendly ear and start calling people up. You know, open up your phone book and start ringing people and asking how they are, you know, and just sending nice texts and communicating. We can't rely on the government to look after us. Unfortunately, they're okay, Jack. So we have to make sure that Adam and Alan and Darren are okay. And we can do that by treating them, everyone, as your brother or sister, knocking on doors to your neighbours, asking if they're okay, do they need any help, and really banding together and being genuine as well. And asking for people, you know, people who want to pray, being prayerful, regardless of the religion, Sikh, Muslim, whatever, just pray. You know, the one creator. I believe in Jesus, God, all the rest of it. Those who believe in Allah and all the rest of it, pray to him. You know, God knows who the prayer's for, and he'll answer it. I believe that there is a higher force out there, and I know by showing love and kindness, we can make this place a better place, or the world a better place.
Definitely, yeah. Pray to Allah, God, and he will definitely answer you. That's very, very good advice. Well, we've covered a lot, and we're drawing near the end. We can find you on Facebook at the Yeshua Party, your page that you have there. You're also on Instagram, I found today. Anywhere else we can find you?
Yeah, they can see me on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. They can find me on Facebook. Lots of pages on me on Facebook. I urge everyone who listens to this blog to log on to it, where they can donate as well, because you know, running all these different services, where they want that funds to go to, they can allocate it, because we want to at least give people a choice out there to stand in the election to say, look, you know, do you want lying and cheating and corruption, or do you want honesty? You know, and this is the whole point. And if you vote for Barabbas, from the biblical text, they had a choice to choose Jesus or Barabbas, and they said, give us Barabbas. So if they choose that again, then you're going to get more Brexit, you're going to get more coronaviruses, you're going to get more problems. And people have to realize the holiday period of the last couple of 100 years is over, you know, and now you have to smell the coffee.
Most definitely, and many of your thoughts, you know, your principles, very much in line with my own. And I'd encourage you to watch the Criterion, which was a message that was given by the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because in there you'll find a lot of the points that you mentioned tonight expounded. And I know that that will also nourish you, because the work that you do, you give out a lot, so you also have to replenish. Self-care, I'm very much into self-care. You know, we give out and we have to put back in when we're of service to people. So don't forget that, Colin. Don't forget that.
I will say to
Yeah.
your listeners, please, everyone, please listen to Mr. Farrakhan. He has a message. You might not believe in everything, but he will give you the backbone that's lacking. Okay, and we need to be standing up, because just like Muhammad Ali back in the day, telling it the way it is, you know, it doesn't mean that you hate people. It means that you love people, because you can't. It's like an alcoholic. You have to acknowledge you're alcoholic to be able to deal with the situation. Britain needs to understand you are racist, you are corrupt, you're not perfect, but we forgive you. But you need to acknowledge what you've done so we can move forward, so you don't repeat what you've been doing for the last 400 to 600 years.
Excellent. So have you got any final words for our listeners tonight, Brother Colin?
Very much so. I would urge everyone at this time, believe in something, be it the Quran, be it the Bible, whatever religion it is. And I've searched the religions. Focus on the bits where it says love and look after your neighbor. Put away hate and killing. Just show love. That's it. You know, be black. You know, the Bible's quite clear. You know, if you look after just your own, where's the glory in that? Even demons do that. Look after people who you'd never touch. You know, the person over the road who might be from Poland or from Romania. You know, we serve a lot of Romanians and Polish. You know, and sometimes the first time they've interacted with someone who's black, and you know, they're astounded that in the UK they say, "You're the first one who's helped us." You know, and that blows me away. So when they go back to the home countries, they now have a different vision. Change people's visions, change people's perception by going out there and showing good. And if you're a billionaire out there, remember, it's hard for a rich person to get into heaven. So start giving your money to the poor and helping the poor. Okay. And if you don't want to give them money, buy them nice gifts, and not just at Christmas, all the way through the year. That's my message. Go out there and show love and kindness to those people who you normally wouldn't show kindness to. The alcoholic, the drunk, you know, those people who you think are wasters. Sit down with them. Take time to hear their stories. It's blown me away, and it's emboldened and enlightened me and enriched my life by going in and talking to people who I normally wouldn't talk to. So that could be someone who's gay, somebody who's lesbian. It makes no difference. Go and talk to those people you wouldn't go and talk to and hear their story. You know, I could tell you a plethora of stories of those people I've met who are gay and lesbian who didn't want to be that way, and they're fighting to try and get back to where the biblical teachings are, and I've been able to help them with that. And those people who don't want to know. So I would urge everyone just show kindness to everyone, black, white, Asian. If you're a white person, you've never spoken to a black person or an Asian person, go and knock on someone's door and say howdy. You know, go and buy them a coffee, or do something nice. You know, that's my message. Show love and kindness.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you on the podcast, and I wish you all the best in your endeavors. Keep up the good work. You're one fearless soldier who most definitely is in the hearts of the people. You are doing practical work, helping people who are in despair at this time and who really need you. You're like that shining light. When you show up, people know that there's hope. You're consistent, you're dedicated, and you're doing what you're doing, not to be seen, but it's the love that you have in your heart in serving God. And I just think that is awesome. And I wish you all the best. And I pray that you are protected out there in them streets, and that you continue to grow in everything that you are doing. So thank you so much for your time tonight.
God bless you all.
Thank you. You take care now.
God bless.
Good
Bye
night,
bye.
everyone. Make sure you share this
I,
podcast,
I,
please, with everyone. It's been so powerful.
I
Take
will do.
care.
Can I just get everyone to come and say hello and goodbye to everyone online? Go on.
Hello, goodbye, God bless, have a good night.
Go on, say
Good
hi.
night.
The guys have been waiting patiently.
Good night.
So as you can see, we're multiracial and we're out there and we're going to be walking the street showing that love. God bless you, Aisha. Bye-bye now.
All right. Good night.
Bye. Bye.
Take care. Well, that's it. See you again in a fortnight for the Aisha Mohammed podcast. I really hope that you have enjoyed this. It's just been an awesome experience to speak to Brother Colin Rankine. Take care. Good night.